Have you ever poured your entire soul into loving someone, believing that kind of devotion could conquer anything only to have them shatter your world with a single choice? I mean, really think about it. What would you do if the person you loved more than yourself picked someone else? Would you fight, walk away, or just break? That's the heartbreaking love story I'm about to share. One that's ripped straight from the raw edges of betrayal in relationships and the agony of true love lost. It's a tale of trust shattered, loyalty tested, and the pride that keeps us going even when regret threatens to drown us. And trust me, by the end, you'll be questioning your own heart. Those words echoed in my mind as I stared at the flickering skyline of New York City from my cramped Brooklyn apartment window. The city lights blurred through rain-streaked glass, much like the tears I fought back that night. My name's Alex Rivera, a 35-year-old graphic designer who's spent the last decade hustling in this concrete jungle, turning sketches into billboards that light up Times Square. But none of that success could prepare me for the emotional wreckage of loving Alina more than life itself. We met in a crowded coffee shop in Manhattan during a freak snowstorm 8 years ago. She was a rising marketing executive, sharp as a tack, with eyes like polished obsidian that could cut through any pretense. I was nursing a black coffee, doodling on a napkin, when she slid into the seat across from me, her coat dusted with snowflakes. "Mind if I join? Everywhere else is packed, and you look like you could use some company." Her smile was electric, the kind that makes the room feel warmer. We talked for hours about dreams, the grind of city life, and how freedom sometimes feels like Ameth in a place that never sleeps. From that day, Alina became my everything. I'd wake up thinking of her laugh, the way it bubbled up like champagne in a quiet bar. Our dates were urban adventures, stolen kisses on the High Line at sunset, late-night tacos in food trucks under neon signs, whispering secrets in the shadow of skyscrapers. I loved her fiercely. When she lost her job during the pandemic, I covered her rent without a second thought. When her mom got sick back in Chicago, I drove her there myself, holding her hand through the worry. "You're my rock, Alex," she'd say, her voice soft against my chest. But deep down, I sensed shadows, hints of restlessness in her eyes, like she was always chasing something just out of reach. Flashbacks haunted me now, like the time we argued about settling down. "I need space to breathe, to feel free," she'd confessed one evening in Central Park, leaves crunching under our feet. I thought it was just talk, a fleeting doubt in our unbreakable bond. Foreshadowing, I realize now the subtle cracks in our foundation, but I ignored them, pouring more love into the voids, believing loyalty could seal any fracture. That rainy night, my phone buzzed with her text. "We need to talk. Coming over." My heart raced with a mix of hope and dread. Was this the moment she'd finally commit, or the betrayal I'd feared? As she stepped inside, dripping wet, her expression said it all, guilt mixed with resolve. "Alex. I've met someone," she began, her words slicing like a knife through the humid air. The room spun. How could this happen? I'd given her my all, loved her more than myself, but she chose him. The curiosity burned. Who was he? Why him? I needed answers, but she held back, tears streaming. "It's not you, it's me needing something different." Classic line, but it stung like betrayal's venom. As she left, the door clicked shut, echoing the end of you. Little did I know, this was just the start of a deeper unraveling, one that would expose secrets and force me to confront my own regrets. What comes next will shock you. Stick around, because the truth about love lost and redemption is wilder than you think. I didn't sleep that night. The rain kept pounding Brooklyn like it was trying to wash the whole borough into the East River. I sat on the fire escape with a bottle of cheap bourbon, replaying every second of Alina walking out. Then I did what any self-respecting idiot does at 3 a.m. I stalked her Instagram stories. That's when I saw him for the first time. A new face kept popping up in her frames. Tall, blonde, stupidly symmetrical jawline, the kind of guy who probably says, "Let's circle back in meetings," and means it. His name was Connor freaking Whitmore, private equity prince, heir to some old money Connecticut fortune, the type whose family owns half of Greenwich and still complains about taxes. In one photo, they were laughing over martinis at the Ned and NoHo. In another, his arm was around her waist, on a rooftop in Dumbo. City lights glittering behind them like the universe itself approved. My stomach folded in on itself. I knew Connor, not personally, God, no, but by reputation. Everyone in Manhattan creative circles did. He was the guy who swooped into failing agencies, bought them for pennies, fired half the staff, and rebranded the rest into soulless content farms. He'd once bragged in a Forbes profile that emotion is a liability in business. Perfect match for Alina, right? Wrong. That's what shredded me, because I remembered the night she cried in my arms after her old agency laid off 20 people. She'd called Connor types vampires in Tom Ford suits. Yet there she was, glowing in his orbit. I scrolled back months, subtle clues I'd ignored. A tagged location at his Hamptons share house. a heart emoji on his story about closing a deal. Little digital breadcrumbs leading straight to my heartbreak. Morning came gray and I dragged myself to the coffee shop on Bedford, where we used to split almond croissants. And because New York is cruelly small, Connor walked in. Alone, designer trench coat, AirPods, $1,000 sneakers that somehow looked untouched by the slush outside. He ordered a pour-over like he was doing the barista a favor. He recognized me. I saw it in the flicker of a smirk. Alex, right, he said, voice smooth as the bourbon still burning my throat. Elena's told me a lot about you. The room tilted, every head turned, sensing drama the way sharks smell blood. What exactly did she tell you? I managed, voice raw, that you're a good guy. Safe, predictable. He smiled like a cat with cream. Nothing wrong with safe. Man, just not what she needs right now. Safe, the word hit harder than any punch. I'd given her everything, my time, my savings, my future, and I got reduced to safe. Like I was a Volvo and he was a Maserati. He paid, turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm not the villain here. She was already looking for the exit. I just happened to hold the door. The door. That's when the first twist punched me in the gut. Maybe Elena didn't leave because of Connor. Maybe Connor was just the excuse she finally felt brave. In auto use, I stood there shaking as he walked out into the gray morning, and I realized the betrayal wasn't just her choosing him, it was her choosing a version of herself I never got to meet. 3 days later, I found the sonogram. It was tucked inside the sketchbook. She'd left at my place to one I hadn't touched since she walked out because opening it felt like ripping stitches. I was looking for a logo mock-up for a client when the small black and white photo slipped out and landed face up on my desk. 5 months, 3 weeks. A tiny bean-shaped shadow with a fluttering heartbeat. My knees gave out. I sat hard on the floor, staring at the date printed in the corner. Taken 2 weeks before she ended us. Elena was pregnant, and the math didn't lit was mine. The room spun. Every memory rewound and reframed itself. The food poisoning in July that lasted weeks. The way she stopped drinking wine but pretended to sip so I wouldn't notice. How she'd fall asleep on the couch at 8 p.m., claiming deadlines. The loose sweaters she suddenly favored even when it was 90 degrees. She'd hidden my child from me. I called her 17 times. Straight to voicemail. Texts turned green. She'd blocked me. I took the train to her office in Midtown. Rode the elevator to the 28th floor like a zombie. Her coworkers looked away when I asked for her. Finally, Marisol, her work wife, pulled me into a conference room. She's gone. Alex took personal leave. Connor flew her to his place in Aspen until everything settles. Until what settles? My voice cracked. Marisol's eyes filled. Until she decides what to do about the baby. The air left my lungs. The side, that word carried a weight I couldn't process. She told me, it's yours, Marisol whispered. But Connor's convinced her you're not ready for this. That you're still scraping by in freelance. That you'd hold her back. He's offering the full package. Nani's trust funds. A brownstone on the park. He told her love isn't enough anymore. Security is. I laughed, then a broken, ugly sound. Security. The same man who gutted companies for sport was selling my child a future. Built on 30 pieces of silver. I stumbled out onto 57th Street. Crowds shoving past like I was already a ghost. My phone buzzed an unknown number. A single text with a photo attachment. It was Elena. Sitting on a leather couch in some mountain mansion. Fireplace roaring behind her. She looked exhausted, beautiful, terrified. The message underneath read, I'm so sorry. I thought leaving was the kindest thing I could do. Please don't hate me. I stared at those words until they blurred. Then I typed the only thing that mattered. That's my baby. Elena, you don't get to disappear with my child. I hit send. Heart hammering. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. The foreshadow I'd ignored for months finally roared into focus. Every time she talked about freedom, she wasn't talking about travel or career. She was talking about the freedom to leave me, without guilt. And now she was trying to take the one part of us that could never be replaced. I maxed out 3 credit cards and booked the red-eye to Denver. Then rented Daykeepa's car that would make it through the mountains. 14 hours of driving on pure adrenaline, replaying every moment I'd failed her. Every time I could have fought harder. I found the house because rich people can't help posting their views. Connor's Instagram story. Floor-to-ceiling windows, snow-capped peaks. Elena's silhouette curled on a chaise with a mug. The caption, peace looks good on her. Peace, while I was coming apart at the seams. I pulled up the long driveway at dusk. Motion sensor lights snapped on, illuminating Thymadorn fortress of glass and timber. Before I could knock, the door flew open. Elena stood there in leggings and one of Connor's Harvard sweatshirts. Hand instinctively pretty, the small curve of her belly. Her face crumpled when she saw me. Alex, how did you? We need to talk. Now, behind her, Connor appeared, phone to his ear, already barking at security. I've got this, he told whoever was listening, then hung up. You're on private property. This is between me and the mother of my child, I said, voice shaking but steady. Elena stepped outside, pulling the door shut behind her. Snow started falling in fat, Silent flakes. You shouldn't have come, she whispered. Really, because disappearing with my kids seems like the kind of thing that deserves a conversation. Her eyes filled. I was going to tell you, after the first trimester, then everything got complicated. Complicated is him buying you a new life so you don't have to deal with me. That's not fair. Her voice broke. You don't know what it's been like. The fear, the judgment, my parents freaking out. Connor offered to erase me. I shouted. Snow melted cold on my cheeks. Was it tears or flakes? I couldn't tell. I'm not some mistake to be managed, Alina, and neither is our baby. She hugged herself, shivering. I was scared you'd try to trap me, that you'd make me choose between the life I want and this. I would have moved heaven and earth for you both. You never gave me the chance. Silence stretched between us, broken only by the wind. Then Connor's voice from the doorway. Time's up. Leave, or I call the cops. Elena looked at him, then back at me. Something shifted in her eyes. Regret, maybe, or recognition. Give me one day, she said quietly. Meet me tomorrow. Alone, noon, at the John Denver Sanctuary. Please, I wanted to scream no. To demand everything right then. But the way she touched her stomach like she was already protecting our child from the mess we'd made stopped me. One day, greed. As I walked back to the car, I glanced in the window. Connor's hand was on her shoulder, possessive, but she was staring after me, tears freezing on her lashes. I didn't know it yet, but that night would change everything. Again, the John Denver Sanctuary was blanketed in fresh snow. The aspen trees bare and trembling. I got there an hour early, pacing the frozen paths, rehearsing every speech, anger, begging, bargaining. At 11:58 she appeared, bundled in a cream coat, cheeks flushed from cold. No Connor, just us, and the mountains and 8 years of history hanging in the air. She didn't speak at first, just handed me a steaming paper cup of hot chocolate from a nearby cafe, like we were still the couple who used to warm our hands together on the subway platform. I lied to you, she started, voice small. About a lot. My heart stopped. The baby's not yours, Alex. The world went silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. She couldn't look at me. It happened once. Last spring, a work trip to Miami. Too much tequila, too much pressure. A guy I barely knew. I was going to end it, tell you everything, but then I found out I was pregnant and panicked. Connor offered to claim it, to give the baby his name, his money, his future. He said no one ever had to know. I couldn't breathe. I thought if I left clean, you'd hate me for a little while and then move on, that you'd be free. Free. There it was, again her favorite word, now weaponized. You let me believe. My voice cracked. You let me fly across the country, lose my mind, thinking I'd lost my child. I know. Tears streamed down her face. I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting you. From what? From loving you even when you screwed up. That's not protection, Elena. That's cowardice. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I was ashamed, she whispered, and terrified. Connor made it easy to hide. I laughed, bitter and broken. Easy, right? We stood there while the truth settled between us like the falling snow, heavy, irreversible. What happens now? I finally asked. I'm keeping the baby, she said, chin lifting for the first time, and I'm doing it alone. No more hiding behind Connor or anyone else. I called him this morning, told him, it's over. I searched her face for the lie, but found only raw honesty. I destroyed us, she said. I know that, and I don't expect forgiveness. But I needed you to hear the truth from me, not from some lawyer or rumor. The anger drained out of me, leaving something colder. Not hate, something worse. Pity, maybe, or just exhaustion. I loved you more than myself, I said quietly. Turns out that wasn't the problem. The problem was, you never believed you deserved someone who would. She started crying harder, but I was already walking away. 6 months later, I was back in Brooklyn. New apartment, new plants, new life I was trying hard to love. One Saturday, the mail brought a plain white envelope, no return address. Inside was a single photograph. Alina in a hospital bed, exhausted and radiant, holding a tiny swaddled baby with a shock of dark hair. On the back, in her handwriting, her name is Lucia Mer. She has your nose. I was wrong about everything. Thank you for teaching what real love looks like, Evan, when I couldn't return it. I hope one day you'll let me show her the man who once saved my sketchbooks from the rain. Be happy, Alex. You deserve it more than anyone I know. I stared at that photo for hours. The baby Lucia wasn't mine by blood, but for a little while she'd been mine in every way that mattered. And Alina had finally chosen herself. Not Connor, not me, not the easy way out. Just herself and the hard, honest road of raising a child alone. I pinned the photo to my fridge, right next to a new sketch, a little girl with my nose, laughing in a park I hadn't drawn yet. Some nights I still wake up reaching for someone who isn't there. The ache never fully leaves it, just changes shape. But I'm not broken anymore. Here's the truth they don't tell you about loving someone more than yourself. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting them go be someone you could never fix. Sometimes the person you save isn't them. It's you. I forgave Alina the day I realized I wasn't forgiving her for her, I was forgiving her for me, so I could stop carrying the weight of a future that was never mine to begin with. If you're watching this and you've ever had your heart ripped out by someone who chose a different path, if you've ever questioned whether your love was enough here, your love was enough. It was always enough. The fact that they couldn't receive it doesn't make it worth less. It just makes it yours to give to someone who will hold it like the treasure it is. Or better yet, to give it to yourself first, because the moment I stopped loving Alina more than I loved me, I finally started living again. And that, my friends, is the real redemption. So tell me in the comments, have you ever loved someone who couldn't love you back the same way? Drop your story below. I read every single one. And if this hit home, like, subscribe, turn on notifications. We've got more raw, real Lavandla stories coming. You're not alone. See you in the next one. **** Time has a funny way of blurring the sharp edges of pain, turning them into something you can almost touch without flinching. It's been a year since that photo arrived, and Lucia's first birthday just passed, though I only know because Alina sent a video clip. Her voice soft in the background, singing off-key while the camera shook with laughter. I didn't reply, not out of spite, but because some chapters close on their own. Without needing a postscript, I've thrown myself into the work since then. My freelance gigs turned into a full-time gig at a boutique design firm in Soho, where the walls are lined with mood boards and the coffee's always fresh. My boss, Lena, no-nonsense woman with tattoos of circuit boards snaking up her arms, noticed the change in me early on. "You design like you're exercising ghosts," she said once, handing me a beer after a late-night deadline. We talked then, really talked, about the kind of love that leaves scars but also stories worth telling. Lena's become a friend. The kind who drags you to comedy shows in the village when you're wallowing. And yeah, there's been dates, awkward brunches in Williamsburg with women who laugh at my napkin sketches, who text back promptly and don't vanish into mountain retreats. But none of them are Alina. None of them need to be. I've learned that freedom isn't a boot running from regret. It's about carrying it lightly, like a well-worn backpack on a long walk through the city. One crisp fall evening, I ran into Connor, of all places, at a networking mixer in Chelsea, surrounded by suits and small talk. He looked different, thinner eyes, shadowed, nursing a scotch like it owed him money. "Alex," he said, spotting me across the room. No smirk, this time, just a nod, almost sheepish. We ended up at a quiet corner table, the hum of conversation fading into white noise. "Heard about the kid," he said after a beat. "Elena's doing good, solo parenting, like a boss." I nodded, surprised at how little it stung. "Yeah, she is." He swirled his drink, staring into the amber. I was an ass. Thought I could buy my way into something real. Turns out, money buys silence, not loyalty. A pause, heavy with unspoken apologies. She told me the truth before she left. About everything. Wish I'd listened sooner. I didn't gloat, just raised my glass. Two truths that set us free, even when they hurt like hell. We clinked, and that was that. No big redemption arc for him, just a man owning his pride, one awkward toast at a time. As I walked home that night, the city alive with holiday lights strung across brownstones, I felt it. The final betrayal doesn't define you. It's the choice after that does. I chose to rebuild, not revenge. To trust again, not out of naivety, but wisdom. And in that, I found my own kind of love, the kind that starts with me. If this story's mirror held up any reflections for you, remember, heartbreak isn't the end of the road. It's the detour that leads to you, stronger, wiser, ready for whatever comes next. Thanks for riding this emotional roller coaster with me. Hit that like if it resonated. Share your own tales of love lost and lessons learned below. Until next time, keep loving fiercely, but never forget to love yourself first.